Okay, you should know by now that quadratics, you know what they look like. They're kind of like a U shape, right? I want you to just take a second and sketch this one. Just will take you 2 seconds to sketch what the graph would look like. Take the headphone out. I think you forgot that in. Know what it looks like? It's just a U shape shifted where? Down 4. All right, good. Now, take a second and tell me what A, B, and C are. Yep, don't actually say them out loud, but yes, A is 1. You are correct. Take just a second to write down A, B, and C. All right, Charlie, what do you get for B? 0 is correct, because there isn't a B. It's almost like there's a 0x in the middle of this thing. All right, Luke, how about C? -4, good. Now, this formula, x equals -b over 2a, that's part of the quadratic formula. It's the beginning and the end of the quadratic formula. If you've ever thought about that before. But that tells you 2 things. It's the x of the vertex and it's the axis of symmetry. Take a second, figure it out for this problem. Figure out what it comes up to. What is the answer? Dice of Destiny. Who should I call on this one? Row 5, person 1. Zola, that's you. What's -b? Yeah, it's -0, which is just 0, over 2a, which is 2. And what's that equal to? 0. But don't forget the beginning. X equals 0. And that is the axis of symmetry. And if you actually had sketched this thing, you knew where the axis of symmetry was if I'd have just had you look at the picture. Okay. Now, there's a whole bunch of formulas. What does the big one, the quadratic formula, what does it do? I had a kid say once, and it stuck in my head, it's actually like the quadratic formula. Like, okay, because the roots, it gives you the roots. The quadratic formula, this big thing, gives you the roots, aka the x-intercepts. I already know them. Okay, still, you should practice the quadratic formula and remind yourself what it does. It gives you the roots. And the first thing you do is this. And that's called the discriminant. That's what we just learned yesterday. And if that comes out negative, you know you don't have real answers. In this case, I'm looking at the graph. I can see it's got 2 answers. So this can't come out negative. It also doesn't come out 0, because otherwise there would only be 1 solution. This one must be positive, and it does turn out positive. Take a second, figure out this part, that's called the discriminant, and write d equals for that. And then when you're done with that, just finish up the whole quadratic formula, and then you'll have found the 2 x-intercepts. All right. Row 1, person 5. Carlos, that's you. Can you tell me, just like one thing at a time, b squared, and then I'm going to ask you what minus 4ac is. What's b squared? Minus 4 times what's a? And what's c? So that's really -4 times 1 times -4, which is positive 16. How many of you had 16 for your discriminant? Good. And did you know that that meant there's two answers? Because it's positive. All right. Now, if that's all 16 in there, finish up the rest of the quadratic formula, which is to actually stick in 0 here and a is 1 here, and simplify this down. So it's plus and minus 4 over 2. And I had a lot of kids ask, do I just have to leave it that way, or do I want me to do anything more with it? Yeah, I want you to simplify it. So that's 4 divided by 2 is really 2, so plus and minus 2 would be a good answer. Unless they wanted it written like this, x-intercepts are where y is 0. Wait, then that would be 2 here, and then comma 0. And the other one would be negative 2, comma 0. All right, there you go. There's a big picture review of almost everything. One thing that happens today is you're going to have things like this, and they're just going to ask you a million things about it, like what's the axis of symmetry? And you have to know what little formula you pull up. Take a second, write down the right formula for axis of symmetry. Again, a kid said, it's the axis of symmetry. I like that because it tells you to start with x. Did you know it was negative b over 2a? And therefore negative of negative 3, which is 3, over 2a, which is 2. 2 times 1. It's 3 over 2, or 1.5. And if you write the whole thing, x equals 1.5. That makes even more sense. Then, if I wanted the vertex, I'm pretty much there. I know it would be 1.5 comma something, you know, because we know that the axis of symmetry is this first number here. What would you do to get the other part? Isaac, do you remember?
Put 1.5 into the equation.
Yep. You just stick 1.5. Don't even do it. I just want to remind you that that's what you would do. Okay. All right. And when you get done with a problem and you just wrote out all this stuff and you got plus or minus the square root of 20 all over 6, there's two things you could do with it. And so there's two blanks on today's homework. One says, what's exact form? And the other says, what's decimal form? Well, this is exact form, it just isn't simplified yet. Take a second and simplify it. Don't do the decimal yet, that's later. Exact form means you just simplify it down, you don't do decimals. Take that problem that's on the board, simplify it down. We're all entitled to make mistakes. Last hour I simplified the square root of 20 and I tried to do it too fast. I think it's smartest to start with 2 square roots. I tried to do it in my head without doing 2 square roots and I did it wrong. It's your life. You get to make your own mistakes. But I think it's really smart to go root 4 and root 5 and then take a second and go, oh yeah, this is 2 root 5. There. 2 root 5. Then I would recopy it to give myself that little tiny advantage. And then I would go, okay, I see these two both have a 2 in them. I'm going to divide them both by 2. But then that means I got to times it by 2. And that factors out the 2. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2 plus minus root 5 all over 6, and 6 is really 2 times 3. Why'd I do that? So that I could cancel these 2's. There's exact form. 2 plus and minus root 5 all over 3. How many of you got there without any help from me? Okay, good. Now what if the test and today's homework have a problem that says, I want decimal form? Then you need to Connor, can you remove this? Thank you. You need to be able to take this and put it in a calculator, basically. Take a second and do it. There's two answers that come out. We'll do it once with plus and once with minus. Take a second, get your decimals. You can use Desmos, I saw a kid doing that. You can use a simple little calculator built into the iPad, that's fine. Just don't use a graphing calculator, because you won't be able to use one on the test. A lot of times kids will walk up to me and ask, nobody ever asks me, what's decimal form? You all know what a decimal is, and you all know that you put it in a calculator. But a lot of times people will ask me, what's exact form mean? Remember, that's exact form. It's like the opposite of decimals. You haven't made the decimal yet. That's exact form. 2 plus and minus root 5 over 3. That's exact form. When you change it to a decimal, you do not make it more accurate. You make it less accurate. Because the decimal is just an approximation. That square root of 5, it actually goes on forever, and it doesn't repeat. The square root of 5, it's a special kind of number. Because that decimal will go on forever. And it won't repeat. You know what kind of number that is? Starts with an I and it's not imaginary.
Irregular?
Close. Irrational. All right, so that's exact form. What you're taking a calculator and doing is changing this to a decimal, which is kind of close to the square root of 5, but it won't be the square root of 5. It'll be rounded. So then the answer isn't as good. The decimal answer is not as good. It's not as accurate. All right. So I'm going to actually do it. What is 2 plus the square root of 5? What is 4.236 divided by 3? 1.412. Within rounding, you know, you may have rounded differently. Did anybody get that? Okay, awesome. And then, what is 2 minus the square root of 5? What is that answer divided by 3? I got negative 0.08. You guys get the same thing? Mm-hmm. All right. So there's my two decimal answers. They aren't better. They're just different. All right, cool. Now, I need to just take a little bit of time to review. I'm only doing this for you. I already know all this stuff. But I want you to get down all the things that we've learned so far, because there's a lot. I don't know if you've noticed, this is kind of a long chapter. We started with I and I squared, and then we had things like square root of negative 25, then we had simplifying things like this, like we just did there. We've had so many things. So here's a little sampler platter, like a little quiz. And no, it's not going to count against you if you do bad on this. But I am going to ask you to work together with the kid next to you. I'll have you slide over in a minute, not yet. So write this out nice and clear. Y equals on a nice fresh blank sheet of virtual paper. Y equals x squared minus 8x plus 11. Now what could I ask you about that? Literally 10 things. I'm not going to ask you all 10. But here's what I'm going to ask you. Question 1 about it is, all right, and from here on, I want you to work with that kid next to you. So I'm going to pause for a second and have you slide over. You do not have to write the questions down. You can leave them up on the board, but for spot number 1, you're finding the discriminant. For spot number 2, you're going to tell me how many roots it has. Remember how the discriminant, if it's positive, there's this many roots. If it's negative, there's that many roots. How many roots will this have? Remember, roots are the same as x-intercepts. All right, number 3 is the x-intercepts. And that's the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula tells you how many x-intercepts. No, not just how many. It tells you what the x-intercepts are. And since Somebody's going to ask me later, I'm just going to tell you now, I want them as a decimal. Okay, number 4. I want to know the y-intercept. I want that as a point, like 0, 1 or 2, 0, something like that. These are not the right answers, of course. Number 5, I want you to tell me the vertex form. Hint, complete the square will help on that. Then number 6 is, since you have vertex form of the equation, you know, from completing the square, then telling me the actual vertex is easy. And number 7, the last question for now is this a max or is this a min? There's an example of 7 questions we could ask you on your next test that are kind of blasts from the past week and a half. Let's see if between the two of you, you're going for perfect here. You got 2 heads. 2 heads are better than 1. You should be able to get this perfect. All right, I'm going to pause while you try to answer those 7 questions. All right, let's get into, here are the answers in case I did not already say those to the video. Vertex here would have been 4, -5. And the max or min, this one is a min because it would look like that. Not exactly, but it's got a low spot, so it's a min. All right, and then your homework for tonight, you may skip problems 5 and 6. All right, and, oh, that's right. Number 7 is about number 5, isn't it? And then you can skip that one too then. All right, so then let's go do number 1. These kind of take a while, which is why I'm cutting it down. I thought last hour I wasn't going to have them skip any, but then it took a lot longer to do them than I thought. So, all right, Isaac, would you read me number 1?
0 equals 5x squared plus 3x minus 4.
All right, one kid last hour said there's a part where you got to factor. And he was like, I forgot how to factor these. In case you had to factor, do you remember the deal where it's 5x and x to start with? And then you'd use a plus and a minus because the last number is negative? All right, so in case you had to factor it. Now, I do always say if you can factor it, you should. But on this problem, you can probably expect that it's about the quadratic formula because that's what it says. And the lesson for today is quadratic formula. So let's do the quadratic formula. X equals -b, which is -3, plus and minus square root b squared, which is 9, minus 4ac, 4 times 5 times -4, all over 2a, which is 2 times 5, which is 10. And now, for the exact answer part, you simplify it. For the decimal part, you don't. You take this and put it all in a calculator, and then go -3 plus the decimal divided by 10, and -3 minus the decimal divided by 10. All right, so there's just a quick overview on how these are going to go. Please feel free to come up and ask me for help. And that's all I got for the video for today.